being a survivor leader is, it can be very difficult sometimes.
I don't care if you're a survivor or, one of those normal people out there.
Struggling to figure out who we are, right?
We've been told who we are quite often.
Yes.
And it is okay to have an opinion today that you will not have tomorrow.
I give myself grace
Yeah.
that that's what I'm doing,
Yeah.
but I'm making sure that I'm doing something.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. I'm joined today by two incredible women in the fight. And I'd love to just introduce Marianne. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Yes. And Jasmine, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yes. And I for this episode, I have to have an honorable mention. We are joined by a special guest, Blue. Marianne, can you tell us about Blue a little bit?
I would love to. Blue is my faithful friend and companion. He is 12 and a half years old now. He has been a working service animal for most of his life.
Mm-hmm.
I got him when he was 4 months old. He was a rescue. He was intended to be harmed. And so he learned through his own experience to pick up the signs of PTSD.
Wow.
And so that's what he has done throughout his career. He has sat with kids in court while they testified against their abusers. He has sat in therapy sessions when I was doing counseling with clients.
Yeah.
He used to be a regular at the Safe Home when I was the director of that. And now he enjoys conferences an awful lot. So that's what he does now.
Well, we're so happy that he's here with us in the studio. He's bringing that calm, that peace to the room.
Absolutely.
So thanks for bringing him. And
I'm grateful to him for keeping
Yeah.
me emotionally regulated.
yes. Well, this season, we're talking all about long-term healing, restoration, really reclaiming your life and living beyond the story, something that happened to you in a period of time that now, who are you now and what are you looking forward to in the future? So we have some questions that we'd love to ask you all kind of on that topic. So Jasmine, I'd love to start with you. And I'd love to know what comes to mind when you think about restoration.
I think what comes to mind for me in thinking about restoration is an ability to see life beyond like your exploitation, an ability to see yourself as someone who can champion anything that you want, as someone who is a pursuer of their own interests.
Right.
And not limited to the conditions that have been prescribed to you by anyone else, but be it your trafficker or be it service providers or institutions or communities telling you who to be. I think witnessing yourself and being who you want to be is what true restoration really looks like.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really powerful. How you said that you said even with service providers too, that sometimes they're projecting something on you that's restoration. You're like, no, I'm reclaiming it for myself.
Yeah, because we're not a monolith and each one of us have a unique identity. So what would be beneficial to one may not necessarily be the other's forte. And I think that, because there have been approaches that have been standardized for our community, although limited. They are very limited. There are some approaches that have been kind of standardized. And that's great because they're increasingly trauma informed. But what they don't necessarily do is effectively make the nuances, right, apparent and to integrate those nuanced experiences in a way where survivors are able to identify ourselves and reclaim ourselves because there's the standardized approach, but we should be the ones that are leading the direction of our trauma-informed and healing services, not the other way around.
Yes. And on that thought of reclaiming, Marianne, I'd love to ask you what's something that you feel like you have reclaimed that was taken from you. Yeah.
I like that word reclaim too. People often assume that, like the word restoration, that we're going back to something that we once had.
Wow.
I never had that.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was learning to reclaim everything. My entire life. I created my own family. I created my own community. I created my safe spaces. I had to do all of that because I didn't have that to begin with. And so for me, it was really just reclaiming a life. I was saying that this is my life and we're going to do it my way, which means everything from what I wear to how I present myself, to how I speak, to the people I want to associate with. I say often everything in my life was controlled for so many years that this version of Marianne is going to be the very authentic version of Marianne.
Yes.
Yeah. Like getting down to like identifying the core you, like who are you in there? Because I think that that's something that many survivors can identify with as a struggle, like probably even preceding our exploitation, that like just struggling to figure out who we are, right?
We've been told who we are quite often.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why maybe it could have been easy for us to be persuaded to like adopt this ideology or this indoctrination of exploiters and traffickers because, like we were on a journey of understanding ourselves and they just like kind of got with us at a time where we were on that journey and we were vulnerable in that journey. But beyond that, like post exploitation, it's a lot about figuring out what you like Marianne said, figuring out what do I like to wear, right? Like outside of somebody telling me about it, or where do I want to live? Like what state do I want to be in? What
type of food do I like to eat?
What types of food?
Yeah.
What are my interests?
Yeah.
What's my favorite color?
Do I even like this game? Yeah, all of that. And I think to your point too, a lot of service providers with big hearts and good intentions have mistakenly put us in this position of healing also looks one way, right? That here, we'll give you a new identity because your old one isn't working for you, instead of giving us the space and the freedom to find our identity.
Exactly. So that's my thing. Like services should be oriented to have the survivor always informing their engagement, right? Like just respecting and being aware of the survivor's stages and their own journey and reflecting that in the work that you do with them, whether you're a direct service provider or like a public institution or a social service institution. I think that the approach should be one where the survivor is like telling you where they're at, and then based upon what they're saying to you, then you uniquely tailor your response to them.
Yes. Was there a time, and I'll throw this out there to both of you, and when you were mentioning kind of that post-exploitation life, right? And saying, was there a moment in time when you realized, wow, I'm beginning to thrive and live the life I want to live rather than survive? Was there ever a moment in time that kind of hit you that, wow, I'm in this and it's me?
I think for me, it happens periodically, actually. It's really rather fascinating and humbling and amazing to me because just periodically I will be giving birth to a project or a passion interest of mine, and I'll stop and I'll have a moment where I'm like, oh, this is really amazing. I never imagined that I would be at the helm of work like this. I never foresaw this when I was being exploited, that one day I would arrive at this place where not only was I not being exploited, but I was actually involved in informing anti-trafficking response models, right? And so like that's a very pivotal moment for me to like come full circle. I feel like a lot of the direction that my life has taken is me coming full circle with, not maybe full circle, maybe almost 180 with
Right.
my former circumstances, right? And so like there are just occasions where I may be speaking publicly or doing research or involved in multidisciplinary initiative, and it'll hit me like, oh goodness, like this is
Yeah.
quite different. The other day I was doing a public speaking engagement and I walked into a hotel, and I hadn't been in a hotel in a little while, but something happened in the hotel. We lost our sense of direction, so we ended
Yeah.
up having to go to the counter
Yeah.
to get directions. And it drew me back to an experience that I had previously when I was in the life. And I said to myself, oh, that is funny. I'm here in this hotel today and I'm speaking out about this experience I once had,
Wow.
right? But I came full circle with it
Yeah.
because I was able to be in a different predicament this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you hit it right on the head. Every day, I recognize, hey, I'm living the life I want, right? I wake up in a house that I picked out. Everything on the walls are things that I want. You know, the furniture is mine. Everything is mine. I'm living the life I want. And then I get these little glimmers of my former life in which I see it being restored right before my eyes. Things like when I work with the Department of Children and Families. I was a 2-strike mom for most of my life. I was waiting for those kids to turn 18 just so nobody could take them from me.
Yeah.
And now DCF considers me an expert, right? And so it's like so wild to me that these things that were holding me back in life have now come full circle.
Yes.
And I am being recognized for the work I've done since all that.
Yes.
Right? Law enforcement, they used to be looking for me.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They,
Right. too.
they chased me down some hallways in some hotels
Man.
before, right?
Tell me about it.
So,
And now we work with them.
now we're like besties. We hang out. We're happy to see each other. And I never thought that would be a part of my
I never
life.
thought I would see that day.
No, not with cops, that's for sure.
No.
But all of it, and when I exited the life, somebody plopped me in a college classroom and said, do this instead. Now, they didn't give me any other instructions.
Right. Right.
So maybe I needed more instructions, but I also only had a GED and had dropped out after 8th grade. So I really didn't know how to handle a college classroom. And school sort of gave me this new identity, right? And they're like, now you're this, you're an academic, you do these things. And so I tried that on for a little bit because that's what we do best, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't feel right to me. I loved school, I loved learning, but that, I'll say the stuffiness that comes with being in academia was not for me.
Right.
And so after I got my PhD, I was like, oh, I can do anything I want now because people go, oh, you're eccentric. You dress however you want. They go, oh, she's got a PhD. They're a little weird, right? And you just roll with it. I'm like, oh, finally, I have permission to be me. And that's how I got it, right? From the world, right? That they gave me the permission to just be myself because I had done something that they found to be worthwhile.
Whoa, you saying that? Like we're two peas in a pod because exactly what
this
you're
didn't happen on
describing-
accident.
No, that's what you're describing is exactly what is transpiring in my world today. And it's amazing because, you know, when you have like you're driven in a way and it's kind of a unique lens, not everybody's a fan of that, right? Because not everybody can see the vision that you can see. But like it's even sitting here doing this podcast with Marianne is really reassuring and validating in that way because like even though my vision may be formative and some of the things that I do and my approaches to anti-trafficking response may be a little unique, I think that it makes me encouraged to keep going in that direction because other people, though, are receiving it. And it's not necessarily for everyone, but it is for those people who it is for.
Because we are all unique, right? And the problem has been people trying to put us in boxes that healing looks a certain way, or that we will look a certain way once we're healed.
Or that
whatever
we can only
means.
do certain jobs in anti-trafficking
Oh, right on.
response, right?
Exactly.
Like I think a lot of people think that, oh, you're a survivor, so then you should be a direct service provider, right? That is almost always equating in most people's minds to, oh, we provide direct service, and certainly we do, and we do it very well. I would argue that we do it the best, right?
Yeah.
Because we know firsthand what someone else is experiencing based on our own experiences. And yet there's so many other areas of anti-trafficking response that we can champion. And so now sitting on a side where I'm utilizing, like you said, like about academia, where, right, like I have this academic experience and I love it, super fascinated by it. I love to learn, but like being able to utilize that to pursue ultimately what I'm truly passionate about, which is that I'm very dedicated to CSA response, right? And so being able to fuse this, academic experience. I have these degrees that I have in business, right? And then like doing it for anti-trafficking response has been like just my sweet spot. And like I'm right there right now and I love it. And I know like I've struck gold because I'm like, yes, this is really where I can contribute.
Yes. I want to keep riding this wave, right?
Yeah.
Because when we have other survivors listening to this podcast, and maybe some are still in the life, just coming out of the life, and maybe trying to find their space of where, if they want to be in this movement, somehow giving back beyond just, okay, you can be a survivor mentor. You know, I love that you both have that value in academia, producing research. So could you maybe speak more to that to survivors listening to say, hey, you know, academia could be a great fit for you, and influencing research, producing research that then changes services and responses?
Well, like Jasmine said, we belong in every area.
Every area.
Every area. Programs wouldn't think that this is cookie cutter healing if survivors were writing the program.
Exactly.
Because we know better, right?
Yeah.
We know that we did not have similar experiences. We come from different sides of the country. We've had different walks. We're different ages. There are different things about us, right? And so there's no reason to think that our healing would go the same way. But also, school is not everybody's way out, right?
Yeah.
I like to use my education and my silly pieces of paper to help those who didn't take that path.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an expert because I have a piece of paper. I'm an expert because I lived through that life, because I worked my butt off to figure out what that meant. And then I've been working in this field for 20 years.
That part.
That's why I'm an expert.
Experience.
And so I think for those who are still in the life, still coming out of the life, or who go, you know what, school is not my jam.
Right.
Awesome.
Yes.
There are survivor leaders out there who are creating pathways for them, who are creating certification programs so that they can be labeled an expert with a piece of paper, because that seems to be so important to people. Right. And so that way they are able to have that piece of paper so that others, the allies in the field, recognize that they are also experts. Because school's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of work. I'm considering going back for another degree right now. And every time I pick up a book, I'm like, is that what you really want to do?
Right.
But, you know, some of us really enjoy it. Others of us do not. And do not want to do that. Or don't have the capacity because there are other things in our life to pick that up right now. There have to be other avenues for those people because they are still experts in their own journey and their own healing. And they have a lot to add to the
They
space.
add a lot of value to the space. And it's an unfortunate precedent that we have in this space that, you know, like, people who are degreed are the ones that are the most informed, because certainly they are informed, and myself included, we are informed. And yet, like Marianne said, no, that doesn't make us the expert. We're not qualified by our academic accolades. We are qualified because we've been in them trenches too. Like that's the reality. We're qualified because we have an experience that is identifiable with other survivors and relatable to other survivors. And that's what makes that work effective, especially in direct services, especially there, but also in other areas that we can champion, like the strategic planning for organizations, like looking at their operations.
Legislative pieces.
Like the lobbying and advocating at a systems level.
Yes.
I think there's also a flip side to that people don't often talk about, that those of us who school education was part of our path, we often get reduced to you're just a survivor also.
Yeah.
That they don't care so much that we did all this hard work, wrote an awful lot of papers, right?
Yeah.
And did
research and all.
An awful lot of papers.
Yeah.
And yet when we walk into spaces, they say we need a survivor voice. You're a survivor.
And you're tokenized.
Yeah, and that's the title that they put under us.
Yeah.
They just write, Marianne, survivor.
And then they want to know
Yeah.
like about our personal experiences in the life. And like, while I am willing to share some of my experiences in the life,
It's pertinent to the conversation.
Right, and I have so much more to bring to the table in terms of talking about anti-trafficking response, because I see a lot working with multidisciplinary teams and stuff like that. I am able to like see a lot about all the different sectors' processes when it comes to anti-trafficking response. And I think now that I'm on my second master's degree, people are starting to take me a little bit more seriously in terms of, saying, oh yeah, Jazz, like can opine about a lot of different areas of anti-trafficking response. But prior to that, it was almost always like inevitably, oh, can you tell us a bit about your experience? And that's kind of where it stayed stuck. And so like, I want to encourage other survivors that if that feels good to you to share your experience, like absolutely do that. But if that doesn't feel good to you and you feel like you are meant to champion another part of anti-trafficking response, do that. Pursue what's on your heart, because ultimately, what that defines other people's limitations. It doesn't define yours, right?
Yes.
Like you're not limited to what other people may be able to perceive.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. I love this conversation. It's one of my favorites so far. Thank you so much. Marianne, I had a question for you. When we're talking about today, right now in your healing journey, where you're at, what do you currently do to kind of take care of yourself, in your healing journey?
I am a huge proponent of self-care. I don't care if you're a survivor or, one of those normal people out there.
They're not normally
No, they're not. I don't know what else to call those people.
Normal is relative.
No, I think we're normal. I think we're the normal ones.
Right.
But every single day, right? Every single day, even now when we're traveling, when we're at a conference, because my life didn't, become whatever it was overnight, right? It was a daily breaking down of things. So I do a daily building back up of things. And I want to pour out to other people. I have a servant's heart. I want to be with my survivor siblings. I want to give into them as much as I can. I want to help the next generation coming up. As I want to leave it good for them as I'm looking towards whatever's next for me. And so for me, it is you take care of yourself every day. You cannot pour from an empty cup. One of my tattoos, this is an oxygen mask from an airplane. Yes. Put on your own oxygen mask first.
Yeah.
Every tattoo on this arm is from a survivor. They were all done by survivors, and they're all quotes from survivors as well.
Oh my God.
I need more if you have a quote. But that's part of it. So I'm a believer, and so part of that for me is devotions and quiet time with my God every single day.
Right.
And then part of that is exercise. Get outside. Get in nature. I am a grounder. Take off your shoes. Put your feet in the earth. Right. Yeah. Connect back to. That's an energy. That's a connection.
It is.
My boy Blue.
That's not crazy.
That's
we do a lot of the same
accident, girl. Blue, he's a part of my self-care every day. I spend time with him working on his skills.
He might be snoring. Oh, Blue's
He's decided we're all okay. He can go to sleep.
He's like,
they're fine. Yeah. But it's a constant. I do something for myself emotionally, physically, relationally, spiritually, financially, because that's another piece we don't talk about that haunts us for years after we're exited.
Piece. Yes.
That I concentrate on all 5 areas every single day. and I say I give 100% of what I have for that day.
Mm-hmm.
So some days my 100% is 1.
Yeah. Yep.
Sometimes that is all I have, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do something,
Yeah.
right? And so if my only movement is I did a little like lymphatic shaking,
Right.
and that's all I got for the day, then that's fine. Or if I want to go run a marathon, I can't. I sprained my ankle trying. But whatever it is, I give myself grace that that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'm making sure that I'm doing something.
Something.
Because when you start to fall off from that, and we know that from any habit, when you start to lose a habit, that falls quickly and it's hard to pull back. Right. So as long as I'm doing a little bit of something every day, I stay on that path and I don't lose the momentum that I've built with it.
Yeah, that's so good. What were the 5 again? Just for people listening, if they ever want to tap into one of those, a day.
I do physically, so make my body move, do something. Usually in nature, I prefer something spiritually, connect to that innermost part of your being, whatever that looks like to you. Relationally, we're here on earth with other people, right? And sometimes we heal in private because that seems a lot easier than talking to people. Something financially, I check my finances. I make sure I know what's going on. I make sure I'm educated about that because that was one of those areas people tried to keep hidden from me. And then mentally, how am I doing upstairs? Are we all okay? Is the trauma really loud today?
Yeah.
Did something weird all of a sudden trigger me that I wasn't quite ready for, right? Because even when we're years and years out, people don't recognize that we still get activated, but we handle it really well. And so, maybe I just go walk away for a little bit or something like that. But am I checking in with all of those things and making sure that I'm equipped? My toolbox is full. So whatever I see this day, I'm ready for it.
Yes.
And I love that.
Other episodes that we've been able to film this week have mentioned that as well, that over time you have these tools that you just keep putting in your belt for, to fall back on and say, okay, when I need that one, I'm going to pull it out and just, be in that moment and heal myself.
Giving ourselves grace. I've had to learn to give myself a lot of grace. I've had to learn that it is okay for me not to be perfected because being a survivor leader is it can be very difficult sometimes because there's expectations that we always have this really strong delivery and like everything is going to be like perfectly said and especially for those of us who really are really dedicated to this work particularly, I feel like for me, myself, I had been in a place where in the past I had allowed a lot of anxiety to come over myself because I never wanted to offend anybody. I never wanted to say a thing and then learn another thing and then now have a different opinion, but survival is iterative and response and solutions and interventions are iterative and they're always evolving. And so we are always evolving too. Yes. And it is okay to have an opinion today that you will not have tomorrow. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I had to kind of get used to that because I wanted to almost brand myself as someone who was knowledgeable and concrete. But the thing about being knowledgeable is it's not concrete. It's not. It's very abstract, right? And so now I've moved past that into really taking ownership of my thought leadership and, my intellectual property and being okay, right, this is where I'm at right now with it. It's iterative. It may not look like this in a year because I may have discovered something different, but just being able to give yourself that grace and just in daily life, where, we may show up great in this area of life today, but then we don't show up as well in another area of life, right? And I always thought that I had to be kind of perfect in everything. Right. And I've been able to let that go some on my journey and just really embrace myself. And, like Marianne said, if there's a day where I'm great in 2 of those areas, but I
Yeah.
was like limited in 3 of them, just being able to say, hey, Jasmine, like you did your best today.
Mm-hmm.
You did your best.
Mm-hmm.
So if today doing your best looked like that, that was the best you could do.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And so every episode, we are throwing out there this question to kind of end every single episode and asking you, what is bringing you joy in life right now? And that can be anything you want to mention that is just bringing you so much joy and making you feel, happy in your life.
You go first, Mary.
Right now, it's all that's coming to my mind is where we are, right? That I'm with my survivor siblings, that I am in a space where I don't have to explain anything. I don't have to think about anything. I don't have to worry that I'm, standing out in some way, or that my behaviors are weird, or the way I speak is weird, or whatever it is. I know that there is complete grace in these hallways from all of my survivor siblings, that we recognize the fight in each other. And so I'm grateful to be in this space right now with all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
But also I live in joy at this stage in my life. I live
Great.
in joy. Joy is something that is inside of you. And so I have that every day, even on the hard days.
Yep, and I was sharing with you all that what is bringing me joy is really being able to take ownership of my individuality and my unique interests, and seeing that there is space for it, because I didn't know when I ventured out on, like systems-based advocacy, what that would entail or look like, or if I would be met with any reception. And seeing how, people want to include a survivor-informed perspective in their tables, right? And not in a tokenized way, but moving beyond that, where they are actually listening to me in terms of like how their operations are handled, or in terms of like what they should be planning to include in their responses and things like that, has brought me a lot of joy, because like it has allowed me to express my commitment to anti-trafficking response in a way where it's my lane, it's my zone, and it's my it's what piques my interest. And to see that it's been met by other people, and that they are inviting it and that they're interested in it, is like the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, sounds like it's a safe space, an empowering space that wasn't there before.
It's an empowering space, and yes, you are correct, and it wasn't there before. And I don't know if it's because I didn't venture out sooner, or if it's because just the anti-trafficking community is at a place collectively where we are like inviting survivors to take up space in places where in the past, historically, that was not the case.
And that's the future that we want, is just continue to pave it in that direction, right? And that's what I hope this podcast continues to do, is to pave it in that direction. We're all about amplifying voices, not giving, but amplifying, right? So thank you all so much for being here, for agreeing to be on the podcast. And if it just changes one person's life, that's all that matters, and empowers one person to take that next step, into their own power and peace. Blue agrees with the snore. We love it. He's snoring away. But I just want to say again, just thank you so much for being here. And you all, I have to say, have never met before today.
No.
But my goodness, there is a friendship that is formed on the podcast today.
Because I'm not leaving away from you.
I was going to say, I already have some ideas for working with you. So yeah.
We love it. Well, thank you all so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Shared Hope International's Invading the Darkness podcast. You can continue to listen and watch our podcast on all streaming platforms. To learn more about what Shared Hope International is doing and take action to end child sex trafficking, please visit us at sharedhope.org.